Hi, it's Amy from Mad Dots Art. Today, I thought since it's getting closer to Christmas, just a few weeks away, that we would go ahead and do a nice Christmas pattern, kind of like a little Christmas wreath. This is going to be a pretty small project. So I'm going to be working actually on a 4-inch, this is just paper that I coated in black to work on, and any black is fine. And then we're just going to work with 2 shades of red. So we're doing Deco Art Americana True Red and Deco Art Americana Tuscan Red. And then we're going to do 2 shades of green, Deco Art Americana Sour Apple and Deco Art Americana Festive Green. And we're going to use this gorgeous Deco Art Extreme Sheen, and this is 24 karat gold is the name of it, and then just white. So obviously you can use any of the colors that you have that are similar, or if you want to do a non-traditional, you can just use the pattern. So I went ahead and found my center by putting my ruler corner to corner in both directions. And you just mark it with a watercolor pencil. Regular color pencils don't come off. Watercolor pencils come off with a moist Q-tip, so watercolor pencil is what you want. And then I went ahead and already did this to save a little time. You line up your guideline stencil right on the center, and then just mark it up with your watercolor pencil. And I chose for this one to have 8 segments. Just pretty common, pretty easy to find stencils like that. My typical tools that I use for the mandalas are DIY mandala stone tools. But for sake of ease, a lot of people have these acrylic rods as well. So I'm gonna try my best to explain which size it would be for that, even though I'm gonna be working with the DIY mandala tools. And then you will have these 2 are extra, your set of nail dotting stylus. These 2 that I have from other sets just have a little bit different sizes, so I probably won't be using those at all today. I'll be sticking with the standard size tools for the nail set. Okay, let's get started. I am making my center dot in a size 16 in the DIY mandala stone tools, which is the blue rod in your acrylic set. And the dot color is the 24K gold. And I have these in little paint pots, so I'm gonna get that out. I work with paint pots to help prevent my paints from getting dry as I use them. These will dry up pretty quickly, so I like to just keep them in little resealable pots. And then I'm just gonna mark right in the middle there, best you can. I'm gonna go over it one more time. That'll actually add a little dimension to the dot, and also can make it a little bit bigger. So if you see, my paint is really cold from working in the basement. I got a little dent in there. That can come from the paint being either too thick or I didn't get enough on there. So the fix for that is I just add a little bit extra. And as you start to pull away, if your paint is a little stringy, some of the metallics are a little bit stringier. Try not to move too quickly, but you probably saw how I kind of just swirled that. All right. And next we're going to use nail dotting tools. So on these sets, almost all of them have the same size on one end, which is a 1.5 millimeter. But for sake of ease, I'm just going to say use your pink tool, and you're going to use the larger side of your pink tool. And we are doing this set of dots in the white. This is the Snow Titanium White by Deco Art Americana, but any white will do. And we're just going to dip. For each dot, we're going to dip in and put a dot. Dip in the paint and dot. Leave yourself a little bit of space in between your dots, because we're going to add some micro dots in there when we're done. And you can turn your, if you have a Lazy Susan, you can turn that, or this is small enough, I just like to turn the piece of paper. And we're just going to dot all the way around. Hopefully that comes out okay for you as far as spacing on there. It's a little hard at first to get the feel for how much space to leave between dots and still not have a huge gap or have them too close together. For the next one, I'm going to go up one tool size. This is the white tool, and we're using the larger side of that white tool, which is 2.0 millimeters. And now, instead of stacking them one on top of each other, I'm going in between, staggering those dots a little bit. So just kind of filling in the gap that was left by the first row. And your dots won't touch each other, and that's okay. What gives that nice illusion is just kind of having your dots be similar size all for that row. So you can play with that a little bit. If some of them are too small, just get a little more paint on and redip while it's wet on your same dot just to make it a little bigger. All right, that's good for the whites. And then next we're gonna go ahead with the gold again, 24K gold. And tool size now, I'm going to use a size 6 for the DIY mandala stone. This is going to be the smallest clear rod. And that's it. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to stagger that in between where the other ones were. Right above the gap that the last row left, if that makes sense. Turn it so I don't get my sleeve in there. Great. And I'm just wiping my tools off on paper towel. All right, so before we move on, I'm gonna go back in with my whites and do some micro dots. It's easier to do before you get your pattern on there, just so you don't get your hand or your sleeve in. So what I'm basically doing is I'm putting 2 dots in between each of the rows. But because they're so close together, I don't want to redip and have them get really big as I go up. So I'm not going to redip at all. I'm just going to dip once and go up between 3 rows. And then just do that all the way around. And you'll notice as you're going that it kind of gives it a 3D look. I'm just kind of lining it up, kind of centering it horizontally and vertical as you go. I do this on most of mine just because I think it gives it a little bit more dimension. But if it's too frustrating, you can leave it out. I think this is the part where dot mandala can be so meditative when you're just doing the same pattern over and over. And then before you know it, it makes such a cool visual effect. So that's where we're at so far. Not too bad. All right, so next I'm gonna go back to that number 6 tool, and again that's your smallest clear rod, and we are gonna work with the DecoArt Americana Tuscan Red. And I'm going to put my design right on my grid lines that I have on there. That's why it's important that you made eight of them for this pattern. I haven't tried it with any other amount of grid lines. So now I'm just going to make a diamond shape. Keep it kind of close together. So just 4 red dots, kind of diamond shape. And I'm gonna do that on each of my grid lines. One of them didn't get on there very dark, but on yours you should be able to see. I usually like to work on the, if you're looking at a clock, like the 12, 3, 6, and 9 first, and then I fill in my others. It's such a pretty color. Oops. Little oopsie. Reminds me a little bit of holly, like holly berries. If you guys are new to dot mandala painting and have tried it, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. If there's any designs that you have in mind that you want to challenge me to do, you can leave a comment too, and I'll see what I can do. I don't consider myself an expert, but I do have fun getting to try new things sometimes. Okay, so you should have a little start of a design kind of like that. And next, I'm gonna do whites. Again, that's our Deco Art Americana Snow Titanium White. And I'm gonna use the large side of the pink tool, the 1.5. And we're gonna do swooshes. But they're not too extreme, so we should be okay. So I'm gonna start kind of centered with that dot line and make a little pool of whites and just drag it. And I'm gonna do that upwards too. And on the other side, and on that side. And just go ahead and do that all the way around. Put a little curve in there if you want. In order to swoosh, your paint can't be too thick or dry, or you won't be able to drag it where you want it to go. So, if you find that your paint is not moving really good, I do recommend pouring medium to thin out your paint a little bit, just a few drops, and then stir it, and that'll help thin it so that it can move a little better. And you can see my other videos. I talk about paint consistency and what's best for swooshes. Oh, gotta have enough on there to make it move. So you could actually do this right on. There's some wooden ornaments. Hobby Lobby has a bunch of different wooden ornaments that you could do it on. Or if you're using multi-surface paints, you could do it right on either a glass or a ceramic ornament, which would be kind of pretty. But for fun, I'm just doing it on paper. Okay, next I am going to stay with that same bigger side of the pink tool, and I'm going to be using Festive Green Deco Art Americana. And for this, I just kind of want to make a little bit of an illusion of leaves. So I'm pretty much just going back outside those bottom swooshes that I made, and oops, I got a little clump, a little extra clump of paint there. So I keep a little tiny tweezers handy for that situation. When I have kind of a small area that I need to clean up, sometimes I just will go in with my tool if it's pretty wet yet and kind of scrape off some of that. Best to leave it, well, you can try and get it off with a Q-tip. I also have this little, these are different nail stylists that I bought, and I bought them for the rubber ends because it can kind of work like an eraser. But this being just a real thin paper that I'm working on, it's probably not the best tool. So I get as much as I can off of there. And then I can just take that same size tool that I used to make that white swoosh, and I'm just gonna go over top of my white. There we go. It's not too bad. And then I might just fix the shape of that green just a hair. And with that, I went with the smaller size of that pink tool and just kind of traced over how I wanted it to go. Hopefully we won't get any more clumps. That happens to me more in winter when it's really cold in my basement. You'll find that your paints will have a tendency to get clots more when they get cold. So that's where having your pouring medium comes in really handy, so you can help thin out your paint. And sometimes I'll just take a tool and scoop around in my paint pot to see if it's got any chunks in there, but I didn't do that today. And we're back to the beginning. I'm going to stay with that same bigger side of the pink tool, and this time I'm going to use the sour apple and just putting one little dot in between those leaves. Okay, that's very nice. Looks so Christmassy and cheery, huh? All right, so next, I'm pretty sure I can fit a 6. Sometimes to see if I have enough space for a certain size dot, I'll just put it on there. Most of them should be okay. It's a little tight in some spots, and you'll find that, I don't know, I've been doing this for a couple years and it's still not always very symmetrical, but overall it probably doesn't matter. Okay, so we're gonna do a size 6, and again that's going to be the smallest of your 3 clear rods if you're using that set. And I'm going to use the True Red by Deco Art Americana for this dot. And these are going to kind of just go in between our little white guys. If you have space right in between where their centers meet, you can do it there or just slightly below. Okay. So next, I am going to use the large end of the white tool, and we're going to go with our gold, 24K gold. And to find where I put my pot. So this time I'm going to do a similar thing where I'm going to try to not redip. I'm going to start out with my biggest dot right at the peak of a white and just kind of keep walking those dots towards that red berry kind of thing that we just put in. And for this I'm going to walk them back this direction so that they get kind of smaller right in the middle. I'll just go on top of that same place and do the same technique. Large Swatch dot here. Oops, I didn't get enough paint. There we go. And just continue that all the way around. Actually, I should have gone to this one. Now I'll go back down. I always say if you can tell when you have enough paint on there, when it gives a little bit of a surface tension when you make your dot. Otherwise I dip again. You can dip again, but that gave us a nice little outline there. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and elevate it one more dot on top of those just to help it stand off of, give it a little more space. Just put one more dot right above the middle dot on each of those. I think I'll end up liking that a little better. In my original pattern, I made them go up a little bit higher, so we'll do that. Okay. And now we are gonna go back to our Tuscan red. That's the darker red. And I don't want to go too big. I think I did though. Okay. So for this one, we're going to use the size 16 on DIY Mandala tools. And again, that's the blue tool and the acrylic set. And our Tuscan red. Now we're just kind of centering that above where you put your small red dot, light red dot. And again, if you get little divots in your paint, just dip more paint on there and dip again, just lightly, to help that get more paint on it. I think this paint must just be a little bit cold. Got a little dimpled. Good. And we're just going to kind of repeat a similar pattern that we did with the inside petals or leaves, if you will. But this one I'm gonna do in the festive green. festive green, and we'll use the large size side of the pink tool, the 1.5. Oh, I forgot my white in there. Oh, that comes after. Okay. Figure it out. And again, we're just going to kind of figure where that center of that circle is. Get a good pool of green on there and then drag it in each direction. And they don't have to meet in the middle. I think it gives it kind of the illusion that they meet even when you're not meeting them. This would also be cute as maybe the center of another item. If you've watched my channel for a while or followed me on Facebook, Mad Dots Art, by the way, on Facebook and Instagram. If you've followed me for a while, you know that I like to paint on old vinyl records, and I think this would make a really cute center for like a Christmas themed record. Very cute. All right, so I am now going to use a size 8 tool, which is your middle clear tool, the middle size tool of the clear rods. And we are going to be using the white paint. And now right above the gold items, that gold little dot, I'm going to make 3 dots, 2 next to each other and 1 on top. I should have tipped. And we'll do that all the way around. 1, 2, my white paint is kind of thin, so it gets a lot on at once. So sometimes I'll dip it a second time with the same tool. In order to do that, you can't press down real hard when you're doing your first dot. That reserves some on the tip a little bit. We don't have snow yet, but I always like making snowflake designs too, so maybe I'll have to do a tutorial for that. There's a lot of different patterns. Okay, I am going to use the large side of the white tool, and we're going to stay with the white. And now we're just going to make some swooshes into that space that was left behind. Kind of like a garland. You want a good pool that's gonna have enough to drag. So sometimes if it's not quite a big pool there, I will dip again before I try dragging it. I have a very large clump inside of there. That is what happens when your paint gets too cold. And then I get it out of there. I should have done it earlier, but you learn to work around it sometimes. All right, one more and we've made it all the way around. Cute, cute, cute. I like that. Just a little bit extra embellishment and we're almost done. I'm going to take the large size side of the pink tool and we're going to use gold, or 24K Extreme Sheen Gold. And we're just going to place one dot at each of those little openings. If you have space, I got kind of close. And then one extra dot and drag on the top. A lot on there that time. And then the last little element is I'm just going to walk some dots down the sides of this. So basically I'm trying to end those dots near where that white swoosh is. That connects the design a little bit more. And that is our Christmas design. You could certainly keep going with more stuff, or you could add some pretty glitters. I have some really pretty glitter paint that I add to things a lot of times. I like glitter. I'm a sucker for glitter. But I think it's kind of nice, just simple how it is. Alright guys, well thanks for tuning in. I hope you had fun. If you end up doing the design, just let me know how it goes or leave a picture. I love to see that. And I will see you again next time. Thanks.